Welcome to week 5 of Flying into the Falcons Nest here on Indiana SRN. In this episode of Flying into the Falcons Nest, I sit down with my player of the week, Justin Schroeder, and we discuss his first half performance against Clinton Central. I also sit down with today's opponents, Traders Point's coach Sam Carnes, and finally I sit down with Coach Burgess of your Falcons as we talk about what happened against Clinton Central and what he expects to happen against Traders Point. You're listening to Flying into the Falcons Nest here on Indiana SRN. Welcome into Flying into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. I am sitting with Week 5's opponent, head coach of the Traders Point Knights, Sam Carnes. Coach, thanks for sitting down with me.
Absolutely, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Now, Coach, you guys are coming into this week's game 1-3 overall with your win against South Newton. Your 3 losses have come to Heritage Christian, the defending 1A state champions, Covenant Christian, and an up-and-coming Park Tudor team. What have you kind of seen from those 3 losses?
Yeah, we've seen that our kids can play with anybody. When we played with confidence against Heritage Christian, we drove the ball right down the field against them. We held them to, our offense scored just as many points against them as Gary Catholics did, a 3A school. So they're a very good football team. Any Star picked them to win 2A. I'd be thrilled for Coach Ray if he did that. He's a great guy, friend of mine, but they're a good team. And when we played with confidence, we played well against Heritage Christian. Against Covenant, we did not, the defending 1A state champs, we did not come out focused. We had 14 or so penalties, 11 illegal procedure offside penalties. And, you can't beat average teams making that many mistakes, let alone good teams. And so, we would love to have that one back, but unfortunately life doesn't work that way. And against Park Tudor, they were fast and strong, and they had some athletes out on the edge, and we felt like we were playing pretty well with them. It was 14-14, and then 2 of our defensive backs got hurt. And one of them a senior, one of them a junior, and our 2 of our best players on our defense. And when we lost them, it kind of hurt our confidence, hurt our and a couple things went against us. So it was frustrating, especially last week, because I felt like week 2 we lost because we weren't focused, we weren't ready for the game, we weren't physically and mentally ready for the game. And so after week 2, we've kind of ramped up practice, and we made it harder, and we've pushed them. And last week 3 we saw a better product, but not where we want to be. And then week 4 we saw the beginning of the game, we saw some spurts of, okay, yeah, we are a better team than what we were in week 2. And so now we're excited to get to play again on Friday night to prove how hard we've been working in practice and to show everybody what Team 9 is all about. Now,
you're playing against a 0-4 Frontier Falcons team. They opened up the season against Whiting and then lost to North White pretty handily. Battled against Fountain Central, and then again last week they lost pretty handily to Clinton Central, and another Sectional 41 opponent. What have you kind of seen film wise from Frontier that you guys didn't see a year ago when you went up to Chalmers and faced them there?
Well, the only thing we didn't see on their team this year that they had last year was that big running back. That kid was the size of a Mack truck, and I was glad to see that he was a senior last year. So I'm not sure of that young man's name, but I'm pretty sure he ran for 7,000 yards on us that night. And we helped him become the leading rusher in the state. So we had 6 starters out last year on defense and 6 starters out on offense because of close contact. Not making excuses, but when over half your defense is on the bench and you're bringing in freshmen who got to tackle that big guy, it was not good. So we're excited to get a chance to play him again. I can tell you Coach Burgess is a great coach. He does a great job of getting his teams ready. He's been to Lucas Oil. He knows how to do this, knows how to get the job done. And so I can see that they're well coached on film. But this year looks like they're throwing the ball a little bit more. They're spreading it out, not as much I formation, not as much, a little bit of under center at the end of the game last week against Clinton Central for the first time. But that was really, other than when they do quarterback sneak, that's the only time they've been under center so far this year. But still got big, strong guys on the line. Still got that number 12 is a great playmaker. He's fast, and their quarterback can throw the ball well. He's not afraid to hit tight windows. So I just coach defense. So hi, Elliot. I need you to go scoot over. You can sit right here. You got to go back inside. I'm sorry.
No,
sorry
you're fine. You're fine.
That's my daughter, Ellis. Now, other than I don't really watch much offense, I don't really watch much of their defense because I let my brother call all the plays on offense. But on defense, they've got their center is their Mike linebacker, and he's not only is he a great lineman, but he's an excellent linebacker. And he carried the ball a little bit last week pretty well for the Falcons. So we've been talking to everybody. Make sure you go low on that gentleman. So we don't want to see any DBs try to tackle him high. So yeah, they're a good team. The thing that stood out to me is you watch several of those games. They don't deserve, they don't deserve to be 0-4. They're better than 0-4. They've shot themselves in the foot many times, and a lot of the errors that they're making are errors that can be fixed. So I told all our kids I am 0-4 is irrelevant, right? It's week 5, so it doesn't really matter what's happened before. They're a better team than that, and so we expect a good fight from Coach Burgess's team.
Yeah, I'll sit down with Coach Burgess later on in the program, and we'll discuss that. That number's 70 that we were talking about, Justin Schroeder, was actually named Player of the Week for us this last week, and I sat down with him again later on in the show. But yeah, Coach, you're absolutely right. It's one of those things that you guys were able to force 5 turnovers last year, but just not able to capitalize.
Don't remind me, man. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's one of those things that you just have to wish that if you get that same opportunity this year at home, that you're able to turn around.
Well, we had 5 turnovers last week, and we saw what happened. I imagine you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who can turn the ball over that many times and win. And I know Coach Burgess was probably infuriated at that because he felt like he could have won by a lot more. And, I in the history of our school, we have never lost a game when our defense got 2 turnovers. So other than last year in week 5. Last year, that was also our second game of the year because our first 2 games got canceled. Again, 6 starters were out. It was a frustrating game, but we really grew after it. And, where we're at right now, and it's nothing against the kids we had last year because they fought hard. And those seniors were great guys that were very good football players too. But where we're at now is so much farther than where we were last year just because of the time we've had together, the time we've had to practice, the time we've had to fine-tune things compared to where we were a year ago, where we're installing a brand new offense, brand new defense over Zoom meetings in June. And so last year I'd like to just forget about altogether, but very much excited to get to play. I mean, we're blessed to be getting ready to play our 5th game. A lot of other teams in the state are scrambling to find opponents or haven't played a complete schedule. So I'm just glad to get to coach football every day.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and turn to some of your big key players here.
Yeah.
We have probably your starting quarterback, Cooper Simmons Little. He has thrown for over 800 yards on the year, 9 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And then you have Eli Underwood as your main running back, at least stat-wise, with 289 yards. What does it feel like to have those 2 main guys back from a year ago?
Yeah, Eli is the toughest kid that I've ever coached. Last year when we played Frontier, we didn't know at the time, and I actually don't remember what it was, but he either dislocated or broke a rib during the game. And I went to the trainer at halftime and said, and he hadn't missed a play yet. And I said, is he going to be okay? Can he play? And she said, well, it won't get any worse, but it'll just hurt every time he breathes. And he came back out. He had 18 tackles that night. Like I said, most of our starters was out. We did not have many kids on the field that wanted to tackle that big number 2. And Eli was one of our kids that that wanted to tackle him, and he tackled him 18 times that night, which is amazing. You think about how much smaller Eli was than him. And on the other side of the ball, and then he's carrying the ball 30 times. He had a pretty good game that night on offense as well. And so having him back, man, he's an animal on defense. That's, we missed him. He did not play defense against Heritage Christian. Sorry, that son's right on my phone there. We did not have him playing defense against Heritage Christian. And, we felt like that would really helped us out in that game. And when he came in the next week against Covenant, it was immediate. I think he's number 5. He has 5 sacks. So I think he's like 3rd in the state in sacks on defense, and just runs hard, regardless of what's happening in front of him, regardless of what's going on in the game. The kid goes hard. We made a joke because we were doing a walkthrough on Monday, and we asked him to walk somewhere from point A to point B, and he ran full speed and almost hit our quarterback in the knee with his helmet. And I was just like, dude, you got to chill but you know what? That's just not him. He can't, you can't want the kid to go full speed on Friday night and then want the kid to go half speed on Monday. He just doesn't go half speed. And so he's a blast to coach. He goes hard. He's tough. He's a great player. And Cooper, very pleased with how he's played as a first-year quarterback. He's got 10 interceptions to his name. But a lot of those are not his fault. And it's a team game, and that stat unfortunately falls on him. But when you look at the yards per game that he's putting up, as he develops as a quarterback, and my brother's one of the best quarterback coaches in the state, so I know he's going to continue to develop. As he develops as a quarterback, I think with the weapons we have at receiver and the protection we get from the O-line, you're going to see Cooper continue to put up big numbers each week.
All right, you have been listening to Coach Carnes of the Traders Point Knights. You'll be able to watch the Falcons play the Knights Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Indiana SRN. It is going to be a live webcast game. I will be on the call alongside with another young gentleman who's been covering the Knights all season long. Coach, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Justin. Go Knights.
Yep. You are listening to Flying Into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. Welcome back to Flying Into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. I am sitting with my player of the week, Justin Schroeder. The other player of the week, Denny Wendling. Homecoming King Denny Wendling. I should put some respect on his name. But thanks for joining me, Justin.
Yeah, of course.
So let's ask this right away and get this out. You had your pads off, or at least your shoulder pads off, to start the second half. You never returned to the game after halftime. Kind of go through what happened, and are you okay?
Right. The kickoff return right before halftime, I landed on my shoulder wrong, and I went to the doctor, and I tore my AC joint in my shoulder. But I will be out this week, but I'll be back next week.
Well, that's great news. Player safety is something that we always want to hear, and it's, even though you're injured for this week, glad it's not season ending, and you'll be back to the field soon.
Right. Probably the best news we could have heard out of this whole deal.
So before your injury, you were easily the top tackler, and Coach Dean even said to me at one point, if I could put 5 guys on the line, put a hat on a hat, and just have number 70 roaming free, that would be the best case. What does that really say when you hear that type of stuff from your defensive coordinator?
I mean, Coach Dean he gives me a lot of confidence. He talks me up all the time. And then when I don't play the best, it's kind of like, well, what are you doing? But I feel like Coach Dean knows what he's talking about, and he has our defense in a way that he thinks we could all be able to make plays. And I know that really hasn't showed so far how many points we've been giving up, but I think once we start shining some things off, that we will be a really good team. We'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, people might not know this, but he only implemented this part of the defense, for the Lafayette Central Catholic game last year. So you guys really haven't played this defense at all last year, and only, half of a year this so far.
Right. Yeah. And we've got guys that don't have as much game experience as others. And with more games that we play, that stuff's gonna iron itself out.
So kind of go through last week's practice a little bit because you got a couple of carries as well. Was that always in the game plan for Coach Burgess to give you the ball, kind of like what he did to Caleb Atkinson? You know, Caleb started off as a lineman and then fullback and then finished out as a running back. Is he trying to do the same thing to you a little bit, or did you ask specifically to carry the ball?
So after the North White game, me and Caleb met with Coach Burgess, and he thought, well, we need to do something that can help us move the ball in short yardage situations. So it's not exactly the same type of thing as with Caleb Atkinson. He's thinking more of whenever we're in a short yardage situation or on the goal line, we can put me back there to maybe muscle out a few yards. So that's really what the plan was with that. So yeah, we've had that in the playbook since after week 2. So that's the plan with that.
So what, I mean, obviously you had an eligible number, but kind of go through that rule a little bit. If you understand that, if not, I can ask Coach Burgess when I sit down with him later on, and he can explain that rule. Obviously 70 is a legitimate number. What do you know those numbers and what you had to wear?
I mean, like 70, I can run the ball with that number, but another reason putting me back there is when we do throw the ball, I have been a lineman like my whole life. So that's extra protection back there. I can block for Caleb a little better than maybe some of the other guys that haven't been a lineman their whole life. So, and that was also the same with Caleb Atkinson. He was a lineman his whole life, so he was really good at pass protecting in the backfield as well.
So, you know, again, you guys have given up a lot of big plays on defense, but, and you've mentioned this, not a lot of guys have had playing time, but does that frustrate you as a player onto the field that we'll go back to the North White game just for an example. You guys turn that ball over and then the very next play, boom, 80 yards, touchdown, you're down into a hole. How much does that kind of weigh on you as the season goes, getting beat big play after big play? Because otherwise you guys are with them most of the game and you're able to make stops, but you're just not able to get off the field. Right.
I mean, it's just a few lapses where we give up big plays, and there's a few times where we just don't do our job, and then that they take off for big plays. And I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but I know that these guys are going to get better, and that by the time sectional comes around, if we straighten these things out, we're going to be really hard. We're going to be really tough out in sectional if we get these things straightened out.
Yeah, I know. I'll talk to Coach Burgess again later on, but I know for sure that he thinks that you guys should be a 2-2 team, not what you guys are at 0-4. But thank you so much. Thank you for so much for sitting down with me, Justin. This has been Justin Schroeder, the player of the week from last week, and I will be back later on with Coach Burgess. You are listening to Flying into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. Thank you for joining us back into Flying into the Falcons Nest. I'm sitting down with head coach Troy Burgess. Coach, thanks for joining me as always.
Hey, it's great to be here again.
You know, Coach, you guys played a good first half. You jumped, again, a quick lead on Clinton Central. It looked like things were you guys were starting to make that turn into the corner. And then big plays, man. That is your bugaboo all year.
It has been. We just, we're in a situation, we just don't have a lot of room margin for error. And we just cannot continue to give up those big plays, costly penalties, things like that. And it just, once again, it kind of bit us in the backside again last week.
Yeah, we really saw that the opening drive of the second half. Denny Wendling was just named homecoming king. They get you guys what was supposed to be a third down stop there at midfield. All of a sudden, I just see from the booth a flag go up in the air. I'm like, oh no, what happened? And then I just see him hook Denny. I'm like, what? So what kind of describe what they gave you down there?
What had happened was there was a lot of contact between Denny and the receiver, and they continued to kind of scuffle all the way down the field there, and the guy just kind of took Denny and threw him to the ground, and Denny got up and took a swing, and obviously you can't do that. You can't do it regardless. It's the old saying, the second guy always gets caught. And he was upset that the guy threw him to the ground, which again, I'm not sure. Not sure that an offensive guy can grab a defensive guy and throw him down, but that's here nor there. You've just got to keep your composure. And Denny got upset and took a swing at the guy, and that's can't do that. And consequently, he was thrown out of the game. And we'll obviously have to sit out of this one also. So hopefully it's a lesson learned, and something that we've talked a lot about. And it's about keeping your composure. And as when things aren't going well, sometimes they tend to snowball. And I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I mean that was one thing that I wanted to say on air is you guys always seem to shoot yourself in the foot. You did so last drive, and then I see you got another flag too for, I don't know, it was in that same drive too. And I thought you got tossed as well because he was ready to hook you as well.
I was trying to, but no, no, my argument was that I wanted the official to acknowledge the fact that there were two situations there that, our player had been thrown to the ground, which is, not that their player deserved to be thrown out, and not that ours deserved to stay in the game. It was the right call. He took a swing. He needed to be ejected from the ball game. And I get that. That was a good call. My argument was simply that there was another side to it there, and I just wanted them to acknowledge that, listen to that, and I guess I got a little too boisterous on it, and they didn't like my comments. So I got one, and again, the same thing I told Denny. I'm not above that either. I've got to keep my composure. This is my football program, my team, and it starts with me. So when I do that, and I lose my composure a little bit, then that kind of filters down. So Denny and I both have some lessons to learn from last week.
And you go into another tough opponent in Traders Point. Coach Carnes has started to rebuild that program after this is only his second year. And I talked to him earlier in the program, and he goes, "Man, I'm just happy that number 2 is gone." And he goes, "That kid rushed for like 1,000 yards on just them." You have Caleb Wagner, who's put up some good numbers for the first time being a throwing quarterback. And that's weird to say normally, but knowing your style, it is true to form. He's put up some good numbers. Didn't really have a bad interception until that Clinton Central game.
Yeah, Caleb's made some good decisions this year, and he's continued to be a good leader for us, and he's thrown the ball well for the most part. The problem is, as I've always said, when you're going to throw the football, there's a lot of things that have to happen positive for you. First and foremost, you got to be able to protect up front, and second of all, your receivers got to run good routes, got to make a good decision, a good throw, then they got to catch the ball. So there's a lot of components that have to go well for you when you're throwing the football. And at times this year, we've looked pretty good at it. At other times, we've looked like a team that typically likes to run the football, and they're trying to throw it. So it's a work in progress. As I say every week, and I mean it each and every week, we've got a great group of kids. I love these guys, enjoy coaching them. And we're going to continue to get better, whether that be, this ball game, the next ball game, we're going to continue getting better, and good things are going to start to happen for us.
Yeah. And Zack Wells has really busted out again. He had 96 yards, 80 of them on a touchdown run last week. And again, Zack is, for the first time really getting a good load of carries, being the backup to Atkinson last year. It is really impressive that he sees the hole and he's able to hit it. But now that you don't have Schroeder, as he confirmed earlier in the program that he's out this week, what is kind of your game plan going in against the Knights?
Well, we're gonna have to try to continue to do what we do, and it's sometimes your best defense is a good offense. If hopefully we can control the football a little bit, and just continue to improve up front. We've got a lot of experience on our offensive line, and I think they've gotten better each week, and they've got to continue to do that. And Hopefully defensively, we can try to eliminate some of the big plays. Traders Point has very, very good speed. They've got some good athletes that can make plays. And, we're going to have our hands full tonight. We're going to have our hands full, and it's going to be a very, very tough ball game for us.
And not only that, it's going to be a little bit different for you guys too, because this is not going to be a radio broadcast. You're not going to have Craig and I on the field to talk to before the game. We will be broadcasting the game, though. We are doing a webcast, so the IHSAA family can see what you guys are all about for the first time this year. What does that kind of mean for you and your program?
Well, it's anytime you get that kind of recognition, it's great. And, it's good to know that way that we'll all be on our best behavior, that way, make sure we stay on the sidelines and stay on our best behavior tonight. But no, it's great. We appreciate what y'all do. And this is a good opportunity, to bring some recognition to Frontier High School.
Yeah, Coach, it's been a pleasure the last couple of years. We'll continue this every week until, we get eliminated in the sectionals. But thank you again so much for joining me on this program.
Hey, thank you, Justin.
You have been listening to Flying Into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. Well, another week of Flying Into the Falcons Nest here on Indiana SRN has come to a close. I want to thank Coach Carnes, Justin Schroeder, and of course, Coach Burgess for sitting down with me and discussing a little bit of strategy. Next week, I will be sitting down with Coach Burgess, the player of the week, and hopefully North Newton's head football coach as we talk about Week 6 matchup against the Spartans. You're listening to Flying Into the Falcons Nest here on Indiana SRN. Before I sign off, I do want to remind you guys that the game is not on a radio broadcast this week. It is going to be a television game, so you can go to www.youtube.com/IndianaSRN to find the game. Thank you and have a great night.